Welcome back to the SOA Show, guys. Hopefully you've been enjoying the premieres coming from the SOA Show. If you liking what you've seen, I think it's good for our people to know. You can go and like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell for future reference of more coming. Basically, I got it at 2 a.m. So once you get up, you can listen to it on your way to work, getting dressed, or throughout your day. It'll already be there waiting for you. And if you like the help as far as in new books coming and information, you can leave comments, as many comments you want. If you're on the negative side, we don't need that frequency over here. It's all for elevation of our mentality spiritually in this spiritual war, mental war, info war, whatever you want to call it, as far as helping and bringing in the kingdom of God on this planet. The donations, you can go to the Cash App of $ the SOA Show. So let's get into what we're about to get into now. And it's called Street Poison, the biography of Iceberg Slim by Justin Gifford. The first, let me show you. Okay. The first and definitive biography of one of America's best-selling, most notorious, and hold on just a second. This up a little bit. All right. Influential writers of the 20th century, Iceberg Slim. Like, what you need to talk about pimps for is good to know so you know how to deal with. You can't speak a person's language, then there's a failure of there, and we don't need no failures today. Iceberg Slim, named Robert Beck, author of the multi-million copy memoir Pimp, and such equally popular novels as Trick Baby and Mama Black Widow. And while we stating that, I'm working on publishing my first book, Family. This one here. And this first book, if you think, well, I will say, if you would like to get a copy before I give it to everybody else, I'll be creating me a waiting list on that, and we'll go from there. Let me just give you a little bit on something in here as far as that goes. No, this is not even it. This is something else. I thought this is one of them they put up at the moment. This is something else. It's got a little bit in there. Let me see. Before we get into the book, let's see. Now ain't got nothing. Mad with no ducats. Talking about the next man. Might as well suck it. Ain't did a damn thing to help a young brother. You're missing something in your pants. Go ahead, duck it. See, a man with a plan, you ban and rush it. Never took a stand. You, a white man, lover, lovers, nothing but a slave for the white man. Bucket, bucket, Your sisters don't trust us. Look at your ruckus. Ain't did a thing to your plan. So what's up? You ain't even standing. How the hell you gonna touch us? All in the business. And your tail straight stuck up. Trusting in a man who ain't did nothing for you. Look, you in hell. He sure don't love us. Promising you things in this life you won't touch. Laughing in your face and you ain't even safe. Trying to go against an ace. You in hell. Gone. Buck up. That's just a little bit of what's coming in the book. So, let's get back to it. You can send donations toward that too, because I'm definitely gonna need help. But let's keep going. From a career as a ruthless pimp and a criminal in the 1940s and 50s, Robert Beck refashioned himself as Iceberg Slim, the first and still the greatest of street-lit masters. His vivid books have sold millions of copies and have made him an icon to such rappers as Ice-T, Jay-Z, and Snoop Dogg, and a presiding spirit of blaxploitation culture. You know what? As I'm reading this, certain parts of it, I'm gonna have some images up here. Help us out as far as in the imagery. Let's get this going. All right. First, we're gonna put in so you get familiar. Okay. You can't understand contemporary Black and even the wider American culture without reckoning with Iceberg Slim and its many alkalites and imitators. Literature professor Justin Guilford has been researching the life and work of Robert Beck for a decade, culminating in Street Poison, a colorful and compassionate biography of one of the most complicated figures in 20th century literature. Drawing on a wealth of archival material, including FBI files and prison records, and interviews with Beck, his wife, and his daughters. Guilford explores the sexual trauma and racial violence Beck endured that led to his self-transformation into a skilled practitioner of the dark and violent art of pimping, ranging from Beck's life of crime to his profoundly influential confessional autobiography, Pimp, to his involvement in radical politics. Guilford's biography illuminates the life and works of one of America's literature's unique renegades. Let's look up his pimp. Okay. Street Poison. Also by Justin Guilford. Pimping Fictions, African American Crime Literature, and the Untold Story of Black Pope Publishing. Doubleday, New York, London, Toronto, Sydney, Auckland. Excuse me. The Biography of Iceberg Slim, Street Poison, Justin Guilford. For my sister, Jessie Guilford, the most courageous woman I have ever known. So as I started to read that Iceberg Slim, I started to learn how to quote it. You know, all of his little poetry and stuff. I was branded the beast. I sat down at the feast. You know what I'm saying? So I would say it, and my friends would say some more of that iceberg stuff. T drop that iceberg stuff, T. Iceberg Slim. Excuse that. That was Ice-T. Let's go and look Ice-T up. You don't know who Ice-T is. Iceberg Slim's Pimp. The Story of My Life was the book that determined the ghetto persona, which has masterfully influenced popular culture through music and film. In terms of that influence, he's probably the most dominant writer since Shakespeare. Irving Welsh. Let's check out who that is. I don't even know who that is. So let's look him up. Okay. Iceberg Slim. Truth. Still shining down. Andrew Vosh. Don't know who that is either. See who that is. Okay. Contents. Preface. Introduction. Chapter 1. Childhood. Chapter 2. Education. Chapter 3. Prison. Chapter 4. Chicago. Chapter 5. Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary. Chapter 6. On the Road. Chapter 7. Los Angeles. Chapter 8. Hollywood. Chapter 9. Final Years. Acknowledgements. Notes. Bibliography. Index. Let's look up this Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary. Got me thinking. Leavenworth Federal. So let me check that out. Preface. Robert Iceberg Slim Beck, a pimp for 25 years, who went on to become a writer of best-selling paperback originals, including Pimp, The Story of My Life, might at first glance seem like an appealing choice for a biography. After all, he abused hundreds of women throughout his lifetime. He is practically unknown to the American mainstream. His books, which were marketed as trashy pulp fiction, have been sold in mom and pop stores in inner city neighborhoods. and they have been read primarily in America's forgotten corners, prisons, ghettos, and military bases. However, Beck has had an enormous influence on contemporary Black music, film, literature, and popular culture. Starting in the late 1960s, his pen name, Iceberg Slim, became synonymous with Black urban cool, and entire cultural industries grew up around his work. He is arguably one of the most influential figures of the past 50 years, and yet, apart from what he reveals in his own writings, very little is known about this fascinating and contradictory character. I encountered Beck's influence many times and in many forms before I comprehended his significance as a writer and cultural force. Growing up in a working class family in Seattle during the age of Reaganomics, I listened to as much gangster rap as grunge. Grunge. Let's look up, let's define that. See, we on a whole nother level today. Said define it. Yeah. In my 20s, I developed a maniac, obsessive relationship to underground American literature. I dropped out of college for a while in an attempt to write the next great American novel. And after reading Jack London, John Steinbeck, and Jack Kerouac, let's look these guys up. Jack London. Like the Mad Max over here. Who else we got here? John Steinbeck. And Jack Kerouac. Now look familiar to me for my time. I hitchhiked from Seattle through parts of Mexico and the American South to New York. I constructed a giant cartoonish thumb out of cardboard and duct tape. It was the size of a medieval shield. See what's going on here. Am I running out of time here? I shouldn't. Or maybe I need to move it over to something else. Hold on just a minute, family. Need to, I don't know how to do all this stuff yet. Shit, I ain't nothing on here. I don't know. I don't know how to do it yet. I don't know, family. Let's keep rolling. I constructed a giant cartoonish thumb out of cardboard and duct tape. It was the size of a medieval shield. And I set out to have my own reckless literary adventure on the road. It was a dangerous trip, full of peril but the road was full of transgressive pleasures too. Someday I intend to write about it. It was on a trip to New York that I made a discovery that would pay off many years later in my search for Beck's books. I was walking down Lenox Avenue. Lenox Avenue. Let's see what that is. I was walking down Lenox Avenue after eating a plate of chicken and waffles at Sylvia's, the famous soul food restaurant. Sylvia's, huh? See if anybody, Sylvia's still around today. Okay. The famous soul food restaurant. When I spied a table on the corner of the 125th Street, piled high with books, I was on a hunt for beat literature, so I stopped to scan the selections. I didn't see anything I was looking for, just some beat up paperbacks with lurid cover illustrations and names I didn't recognize. To be honest, in my ignorance of African American crime literature, I failed to see the archive of literary treasures that sat before me. It will be a full 7 years before I will return to this street to discover the works of Beck and the genre he inspired. 125th Street, let's see. I first heard Beck's name when I moved to his old stomping grounds on the south side of Chicago a few years later. My research had become more focused on issues of race in American literature, and I had come to the University of Chicago to study under, among other brilliant writers, Nobel Prize winning author Toni Morrison. I may cut this one short, family. Find out why I'm over here doing the Max man. I was thinking it was a man. So yeah, deep in here. I don't know why I keep doing that. Maybe I need to close some stuff. See how I go now. Okay. My life in Chicago was divided between two worlds. In the mornings, I took classes from intellectual luminaries such as homie, homie Bob Hoff, whoever that is, I can find out. Like pretty known. I ain't did that. Okay. Homie Braba, Terry Eagleton. And Morrison herself. In the afternoons, I worked in the Chicago public schools as a technology coordinator, helping teachers integrate computer and internet technology into the classroom. I worked at 9 schools located throughout Chicago's economically devastated South Side. The schools lack basic necessities such as desks and textbooks. Let's check that out. South Side, Chicago. And many of the students lived in public housing projects like the notorious Robert Taylor homes. One day I was working with a group of teenagers who asked me what I studied at the university. I told them I read classes of African-American literature, Zora Neale Hurston, Richard Wright, and Ralph Ellison. Like I'm doing the Mad Max again. They admitted that while they knew of these writers, still going. It's from another episode. So we're trying to figure out what the heck is going on here. I don't know, family, so I'm gonna pause short here. I don't want to be overloading nothing and messing up something and know I'm messing up. So we're gonna have part 2. This part, street poison. To then, family, keep your heads up, stay focused, read. If you felt what you've learned so far is good for us and our people, you can go and like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell for future reference. Hit the one at the top to get the next part coming soon of this book right here. And we'll be back. Peace. After we figure out what these technical difficulties is going on right here. All right. Let's stop this. No Mad Max going on now. That's how we want it. So we're going to stop and come back with a part 2. All right there. Peace.